Hello everyone, myself Dr. Pinal Dolaria, clinical dietitians. I have done many certified courses and add some feathers in my hat with the professional memberships of Indian Dietetic Association, IAPN, life member of IAPN and active member of Joy Academy USA. My work experience is 12 hours and continue with the UN Mehta Institute of Cardiology and Research Center as a dietitian. Publication in diverse scholarly journals and conferences, presented at multiple academic conferences and prominent public speaker advocating for the community health and nutrition. Today, we are going to have a conversation about importance of blenderized scientific formula feed and in ICU, which is best. So let's take a deeper dive. As a dietitians, we always juggle up with the formula selection. What are we going to select? Whether eco-friendly or pocket-friendly blenderized tube feeds or heavy on budget commercial feeds. So let's check out with some research and publications what they advocate and what are the findings of them with the details of these formulas. Let's have a look. So, as per the types of enteral feeds, there are two types. As we all know, there is a blenderized tube feeding and commercial enteral formulas, polymeric and standard formulas, enteral formula, specialized formula like peptide based, hepatic formula or any disease specific formulas. So, from that, what and why we have to choose at which time and which condition of the patients, let's see about that. So, as per the importance of the tube feeds, we all know the tube feeds are essential in the critically ill patient, in the ICU setup, in the post-surgical patient, especially with the GI surgery or some enteral or abdominal issues or some post-surgical procedures. We can find the caloric requirement and the micronutrient requirement with VO2 and VCO2 measurements or Harris-Bendick equation or simple weight-based equations such as we all calculate in the regular days like 20 to 25 kilocalorie per kg per day calories or the protein 1 to 2 gram per kg per day protein. This is the way how we calculate in the routine days of our ICU rounds. So, the benefits of the tube feeding. When there is no chance of oral feed or liquid feed, we have to opt for the tube feeds. The tube feeds provide essential nutrients and meet the heightened metabolic demands in the critically ill patients. Prevent malnutrition associated with the complications, improving the patient's outcome and hospital stays will be the less. Support organ function, aiding in patient stability and recovery. Reduce complications such as muscle wasting, impaired wound healing or some or other organ dysfunctions. Allows for precise adjustment of feeding regimens based on individual needs. EN facilities as a multidisciplinary approach to ensure optimal nutrition delivery and patient care. Choosing the best enteral regimen. Here comes our juggling effect. We see that patient related or we have to go for the formula related or the disease demand. What are the patient body is demanding? So let's see. There are two factors which is more important and we should keep them in our mind while the selection. The patient related nutritional requirement, past medical history or the present problem the patient is facing, organ function like renal, pulmonary, hepatic or any other conditions, enteral access and fluid status. Of course, we have to look about the gastrointestinal functions too. But as per the formula related, there are so much formulas available in the market. You have to see first for the macro and micros, calories, polymeric versus hydrolyzed formula, fiber or non-fiber, the osmolarity, product's viscosity and the tube size of course, method of the enteral nutrition administration, and the most thing which in the development country like India we face is the cost and reimbursement included or not. So let's have a look about the scientific formula. The scientific formula or a tube formula is all known as the formulas which are available in the different containers. They are carefully designed to provide the balanced and complete source of nutrients. Include the micro, protein, carbohydrates and fats, and the micronutrients like vitamins and minerals in the specific portions to meet the patient's nutritional requirement. The composition of the formula may vary. Each and every formula, like suppose if you take the protein formula or a hepatic formula, each and every company have their own components and their own composition ratios. Some companies are providing this much amount of protein or fat, some companies are providing other amount of protein and fats. So according to that we have to select, and the patient's requirement, the age, the medical condition, and as we discussed above, all the gastrointestinal tolerance also. Some additional amounts and components are there in the scientific formulas, like fiber. The more soluble fiber, the gastrointestinal health are good, the gut biota will be improving by that. The water consumed or the water required for the formula dilution, like the patient is having a renal condition, if and we is going through some like protein malnutrition or the muscle wasting condition too, then we have to see for the high protein formula, which is dissolved in the less amount of water, so the less volume will be given to the patient, and with the accurate or a correct amount of protein requirement will be fulfilled. Same way, there is the osmolarity. The high protein or the more loaded formula, the osmolarity we are going to be a load. So more osmolarity, the more renal load is there, and maybe it would be harm or have a more effect of the formula dilution and formula digestion on the kidney. So formulas are designed to have the appropriate osmolarity to minimize the risk of gastrointestinal intolerance also. So the refeeding syndrome risk will be reduced by that, and of course the kidneys load will be reduced by that too if we check the perfect osmolarity in the formula. Overall, the components and scientific formulas ensures the patient receives the necessary nutrients to support their health and recovery. As we are going through a deeper in the scientific formula, let's see about the disease specific formula. They have a modified ratios of the macros and added some of the micros who are required for so and so disease condition or the organ specific dysfunction. So for as we have discussed about the liver formulas, they have more branched chain amino acids. For the renal formulas, it dissolves in the less water or less fluid. For gastrointestinal disease or dysfunction, hydrolyzed protein or peptide based formulas are there. For the pulmonary formulas with high fat and low carbohydrate, adequate protein formulas are there. Diabetic formulas and dialysis special formulas, and so or not. There are so many formulas available in the market for the disease specification. Let's see more. Peptide-based formulas are enteral formulas containing protein that have been enzymatically hydrolyzed to the dipeptides or tripeptides. These hydrolyzed proteins are often combined with higher medium chain triglyceride. For example, there are some brands like Peptamen or Peptamen Juniors is available in the market. Specialized formulas are more than the just disease specific. There are hypoallergic formulas. Hypoallergic formulas are processed by enzymatic hydrolysis of different protein sources such as bovine, casein, whey and soy, followed by the further processing such as heat treatment or ultrafiltrification, or they are based on amino acid mixtures. Modular formulas, it is an incomplete nutritional supplement that contains specific nutrient, usually a single micronutrient. Maybe it's just a carbohydrate or just a protein or just a fat formula. For example, we can say the Simal MCT powder, which only and only majorly contains the medium chain triglycerides in it. To be continue in the special formula, we can see there is a isotonic formula. It is a formula with the normal physiological range and approximately 300 molar osmolar per kg of water. Generally, the tolerance problem are minimized by using an isotonic formula, as more calories are packed into the given volume. More molecular particles are present, hence the osmolarity rises here. The oligomeric formulas, it contains enzymatic hydrolyzed casein or whey. Monomeric or elemental formulas contain free amino acids. The protein content of the formulas range from the approximately 4% to 32% of the calories. More into the elemental powders, some elemental formulas contain 100% free amino acids and only 2% fat, nothing more than that. So there's the example of the Tolrex, which is used in severely impaired gastrointestinal functions. Ready to feed, complete elemental nutrition, 100% free amino acids and 10% of fat for those with the severely impaired gastrointestinal functions, and the examples are Vivonex in the RTF. Some formulas are also packed in the bag and they are ready to feed without any mixing or without any dilution. Some elemental powders deliver the drink mixes. They deliver 4.5 gram of supplemental L-arginine per serving and vitamin C and E to support the unique nutritional needs individuals with wounds and cancerous patient. With only 30 calories and 5 gram of carbohydrate per serving. It's suitable for people who require a calorie or a carbohydrate restriction. Example, arginonide are the formula which are giving such kind of nutrients. There are specific formulas for pediatric use also. An extensive hydrolyzed infant formula designed to help with symptoms of cow's milk protein allergy. An amino-based infant formula designed for multiple food allergies if CMPA symptoms persist after trying an extensively hydrolyzed formula. For children 1+ years or older, an amino acid based formula designed for older children with cow's milk protein allergy or other medical conditions are also available. So after learning all about what type of the formulas are available and how to choose them in which conditions, let's see what is the blenderized feed. Food and liquid blended given via feeding tube with the help of syringe, pump or a gravity bag. We can call them a blenderized feed. Can work with continuous feeding schedule, bolus feeding schedule and intermittent or cyclic feeding schedule with pump tube. Given in G tube, PEG tube or NG tube or jejunostomy, all the options are available with the same both formula feed and blenderized feed. Typically want 14 French diameter or larger for the blenderized feed, so we don't have to dilute it more. It can be used for a formula feed, the same setup for the blenderized feed also. So what to blend? Whatever is there in the kitchen and what they gave us, the most thing like for the high fat or for the good amino acids, we can give them the egg white, pasteurized egg, some whey, some paneer crust. These are the examples. We can crush, we can strain and give it to them. We can also mix some of the food from this food pyramid given. So we have to follow the same food pyramid which we follow for the our oral or the general nutritional requirement. The most eat more, eat moderately and eat less should always keep in the mind while designing the blenderized formula for the patient. So for appropriately 1000 calories and 50 gram protein per liter, optimal nutritional profile, if we see, we have to cook some dalia of 115 gram, we have to cook some 1/4 cup of the dal, we have to cook some fruit pulp or 120 ml of the thick fruit juice, we have to boil some vegetables around the 50 gram, 1 egg should be cooked, some milk powder, some corn syrup or jaggery we can use, good fatty acids containing oil like olive oil, flaxseed oil or some groundnut or sesame oils and some water for the desired volume. This all should be cooked properly, mixed properly with the mixture or a special grinder and should be sleeved or we can say should be drained properly for the all the small molecules available in the liquid. So other tips like this was just an example of the 1000 kilocalorie blenderized feed. We can blender it in many ways or whatever the requirement is there, whatever the material is available, and how we should dig it more and more from the available material, how we should combine more efficiently for the patient's own good. Okay, so with that we can see some more tips also. We can use baby food in the adult patient because it is cooked, it is already mashed clearly, and the texture is very smooth, so we can just dissolve it. So baby foods also can be used in the adult patient for the en supplement. Molasses, herbs should be and seeds should be used, whether it is cooked or whether it is boiled or we crushed it or churned it properly. A great way to get an iron, especially if the patient is vegan or vegetarian, nuts and seeds powders should be used, some green leafy vegetables should be used. And modular products like MCT oil, or we can add some spirulina powder, vitamin and mineral boosters, or some drops we can add it, some millets powder, or we can do the ARF, amylase rich food at our own kitchen and make the powder and grind it and mix it as a blenderized formula. All we can add to enhance the nutritional profile of the feed and according to the patient's condition. So what is the requirement for the specially blenderized formula? Because for scientific formula there is not much requirement. The caregiver should not much educated about that, just the instruction, the dilution ratio, and just pour it in the syringe or a bag. So for the blenderized formula, the caregiver should medically stable 14 French diameter tube at least greater than 10. Volume tolerance, a patient should be greater than 8 months of age, able to meet fluid needs with the flushes, because with the blenderized feed there should be always a good flush amount of water due to the small particles of the kitchen feed can be stuck to the Ralph's tube. The access to the equipment and the proper foods, the proper grinding system should be there. Tube into the mature stoma should be there and should be checked. No or more minor GI complications, because with the kitchen cooked feeds, GI and all the intestinal system should be worked properly, otherwise it is not going to be efficient as we think or as we count it. Willingness to follow up the patients and the caregiver too. So the provider, the time of close follow-up, ability to analyze the recipes, standardized recipes should be there. If I follow the 40 gram of vegetables boiled, someone is going to just add 20 gram of vegetables boiled, then it is going to all the ruin the ratios and the micronutrients with the macros also. So these are the example that it could go wrong in many ways. Dietitian monitoring and follow-ups are very essential in the blenderized feed setup. Understanding of safe food handling is also essential while cooking, handling and providing to the patient. So for the blenderized feed, the food safety, all the food safety rules, all the hand washing hygiene regime should be followed, maintaining the proper temperature, like for the meat broth, the fish stew, this should be cooked so properly that there would be no other chances of the foodborne illness or infection we can take or have a chance for ICU or critically ill patient. So it is more of the, you have to look into that more in the supervising and always looking for the foodborne illness, how to reduce it and how we can omit it. Following the proper hand hygiene is the step before and after the cooking. Before giving the patient, it should be followed properly. So as per the food safety, food specifies like the raw materials stored, frozen food, whether it is frozen food or it is overnight in refrigerated, whether it is needed to be thawed or unthawed, the bacteria growth at 40 to 140 Fahrenheit. So it should be all managed in that way. So for the specialized feed formula, we don't have to do this much of hassles. It is just packed in the proper way from the whatsoever manufacturing company, and we just have to pour it, mix it and give it. But in the blenderized feed, this is all the hassles we have to juggle up with that. Cooked meats, check internal temperature with thermometer. Raw and ready foods need to be separate. Cutting boards included, the serving bowls also. All raw material to be washed properly with the all regimen they are provided. As we continue our talk on the food safety, we see during the feeding it should be microwaved. It should not be the cold or too hot to handle or to give to the patients. Flush tubing with the water after each feed is required. Storing refrigeration up to 12 hours, not more than that. Cannot be left out more than 2 hours on the room temperature. These are all the hassles we have to look about, and these are the major points we have to check in our checklist every day in each and every feed. The frozen items should be stored as per the temperature regulators and whatever requirement of the raw material and cooked feed is there. So finding is like limited researches are there for the blenderized feed, and many of them optimistic too. Positive clinical experiences are there, but top benefits reported are improved reflux. So, for the patient having some reflux or refeeding syndrome, we can start with some minor, less heavy to digest blenderized formula like buttermilk. We can give them a fruit juice or some like potato starch or a sago water just for a start, or having some intolerance. We can give this kind of light digestive formula feed. Light digestive blenderized feed. So, there is a study on the Boston Children's Study et al. On 2019. The blenderized diet are associated with the decreased healthcare use, improved symptom scores, and increased patient satisfaction compared with conventional formulas. Visits to the ED were reduced by 43%, total admissions by 53%, and respiratory related admissions by 67%. So this is the finding of them. Let's see another one. The result they got is the most common reason for the using blenderized tube feed were as follows. It is more natural. Some people follow the more natural, the more plant-based thing, like eating what their family does. The same feed is going to be feeded to the patient, and malt tolerate blenderized tube feeds better than formula at 30%. In patients who use BTF, 80% reported maintaining goal of the body weight. The BTF result in significant less reported nausea, vomiting or a refeeding syndrome, bloating and diarrhea or a constipation compared to commercial enteral nutrition. So the conclusion of their study was, this is the first study to evaluate the BTF use in an adult men population. More than 50% of our patients used and approximately 80% expressed a desire to use BTF if provided with an adequate information, and I would like to add, if provided with the adequate supervisions and follow-up too. So Galler and et al. At 2018, they had a study of for the blended formula on chronically ill patient. Often required a feeding via gastrostomy tubes, commercial formula is most used for internal feeding. However, caregiver have been requesting blenderized tube feeding as an alternative. The object of this study was to evaluate the feasibility of using BTF in a medically complex patient population and assess their impact on clinical outcomes as well as a microbiota. So the results are, transition on to BTF was feasible in 17 patients and 1 patient transition to the oral feeds were possible. Patients required 50% more calories to maintain their body mass index while on BTF compared to the commercial formula. So we can see the body weight is not maintaining while the BTF formula. BTF micronutrients content was superior to commercial formula. Prevalence of vomiting and use of acid suppressive agents significantly decreased on the BTF because it's not that much of high in protein, so they don't need the acid or we say the acidity regulator medicines. Stool consistency and frequency regimen unchanged while the stool softeners use increased. The bacterial diversity and richness in stool samples significantly increased, while the relative abundance of proteobacteria decreased. Caregivers were more satisfied with BTF and anonymously indicated they would recommend BTF to more patients. So the conclusion was initiation and maintenance of BTFs is not only feasible in a medically complex population but can also be associated with improved clinical outcomes and increased intestinal bacterial diversity. But there is a glitch about the body mass in maintenance. How can we manage this with the blended formula? So for that we'll have a conversation at last how to merge both. Some other studies we have at Bennett et al. In 2015. It was a retrospective study with the sample size of 43, and the GI symptoms we can see they all are decreasing in the vomiting, intolerance and stool consistency, but the weight changes were in a negative. Galleran et al. In 2015, they have a 16 sample size with lower GI symptoms, but the weight is again here in a negative. Pentukik et al. In 2019 with the sample size of 33, they have the reduced GI symptoms, but weight was not able to managed or matched at that time. Meeting the needs and calories. See what we have seen in the studies, it shows that increased caloric needs are there and the BTF is not available for that, or BTS is not prompting that in the patient. In order to maintain a stable body mass index, the caloric intake required with the BTF is 15% higher than that formula feeds. So Galleran et al. Also suggests the same thing. Maybe we need more trial and errors on that. We have very less researches and the publication done on this subject. So as we see the summary, the malnutrition impact in ICU. The CPAP masked ICU patients need to eat may require nasogastric tube feeding due to the CPAP mask or some conditions of NBM in the so and so what we say the test they are going through. Infection, mechanical ventilations, sepsis, lower mobility of patient and poor gut mortality. Increase the malabsorption, on other hand increases the energy expenditure to in the patient. Episode of feeding interpretation like NBM or any reports, procedure, aspiration of feed, lavage given or high fever all lead to malnutrition in ICU patient. Malnutrition significantly influences outcomes like mortality, LOS, duration of mechanical ventilation will be in increase and infection rates will be increase. So, what are the pros and cons we can see of the blended feeds? As per my expertise and my years of working with the ICU patient, I have seen some pros like health benefits, variety, microbiota we can provide, improvement of symptoms, personal preference, environmentally it is good, it's eco-friendly basically, the cost efficiently it is good, but the cons are it needs more time, more supervision, labor intensive, food safety risks are there, tube clogging, nutrient uncertainty because the recipe is not always going to follow the same, not the raw materials is going to be the same at every time. Foodborne illness, allergic response, immunocompromised patient, significant malabsorption issues. These are the cons for the blenderized feed. Other consideration which is major for the heart patient or renal patient are volume limitations or fluid restriction. We can see medical diagnosis, caregiver resources if they are not educated well or they are not aware of the side effects, if they just go without hand washing or they merge some feeds without informing to the dietitian, they put the feeds out on the table for more time and the feed is going to be stale or something other microbiota happens in that. So these are the more of the caregivers responsibility to manage time, supplies, blendering, refrigeration, clean water, interest and understanding and dedication for their work and follow-ups with the dietitian. So, points to consider are requires a high level of commitment from the caregiver as we have discussed about it. Higher viscosity increase the risk of tube occultation, increased osmolarity, increased LVS relaxation, increased intra-abdominal pressure, delayed gastric emptying, increased gastric acid secretion, overeating or overfeeding may occur if bolus too large, infused too fast. These are the things we have the problems or issues with the BTF. So blenderized feed, convenient and easy available, cheaper. Specialized tailoring options are there as per the religion, preference or the allergic conditions of the patient. But it may not always be most reliable or appropriate choice for the several reasons we have discussed above. Nutritional imbalance, limitation of blending, cooking and storing destroy the nutrients of food. Limitations for volume, requirement for double staining, less gut mortality and permeability, not following a standardized recipe, lack of knowledge in one or the other component of supervising or feeding production channel. It all are contributors to the nutritional imbalance and the patient is going to suffer more. The hospitalization is going to be more lengthwise and more days will be the patient spending in the ICU setup. So, digestibility challenges are more a hard challenge for the critically ill patient. Some pantry food, especially those high in fiber or fat, may be difficult to digest when blended. This can lead to gastrointestinal issues such as bloating, diarrhea or malabsorption, particularly in patients with the compromised digestive function. And the food safety risk we have talked a lot about in the previous slide, how the proper hand hygiene, safety practice, weakened immune system of the patient undergoing chemotherapy with severe illness or particularly susceptible to the foodborne pathogens are at very high risk in the critically ill patient. Allergies and sensitiveness is the other thing. Patient may have food allergies, intolerance or sensitivities to certain ingredients commonly found in pantry food such as nuts, dairy, gluten, contains grain, may trigger allergic reactions or exacerbate the underlying health conditions. Tube compatibility in the blended feed must be compatible with the type of feeding tube used by the patient. Nasogastric or gastrectomy tube should be at the required or adjusted diameter as per the BTF feed. Some thick or fibrous blended may be clog feeding tube or require additional dilution, affecting the delivery of nutrition, affecting the content or the ratio of the nutrition or macros provided by the BTF. So, with all above the points worked out correctly, it is advisable that BTF be an optional for home enteral nutrition. Patients with the swallowing problem, damaged esophagus, neuro problem, paralysis, jaw problem, coma patient who have no other comorbidities or GI problems can be given blended kitchen feed with various mix-up with added nutritionally rich food. But if they requires close monitoring by the dietitian and the patient is under the healthcare team in the ICU setup at the hospital, formulas are safe and provide adequate nutrition, but as professionals, we need to be aware of the difference in each type of formula, what they offer or not, or where not to apply them or not to consider in which condition. The scientific formulas are preferred for GI complications, in immune enhancing and enteral nutrition, in conditions like traumatic brain injury, burns or sepsis, post-surgical patients, the role of immune modulating nutrients like glutamine, arginine, omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants are recommended. In theory, the availability of the arginine is reduced during the sepsis. So, arginine-rich formula helps in sepsis. We should choose the formula wisely in such conditions. In critical illness, the glutamine concentration in plasma may be reduced, which is considered as an expression of the severity of the disease and infection. Supplementation with the glutamine may possibly lead to reduction in bacterial translocation from the gut, improved Immune cell function, decrease the pro-inflammation cytokine production and increase the antioxidant capacity. Fish oil or omega-3 fatty acids may have a high anti-inflammatory potential due to the shift in inflammatory mediator synthesis. For patients receiving RRT, renal replacement therapy is increased losses of energy, water, soluble molecules such as amino acids, electrolytes, trace elements, and vitamins, and induces the systematic inflammation and protein catabolism. To cope with this condition, with the decreased need of vitamin and trace element and increased supply of recommended nutrients, with special regarded of vitamin C, folate and thiamine, a scientific formula designed for such condition gives optimum nutrition without affecting fluid volume or blood sugar. It is also seen in many research and random controlled trials that GI complications, vomiting like bowel ischemia and pseudo obstruction are seen when patients are on only scientific formula. It might be due to not maintaining the fluids, the scoops, the time, schedules, the gaps between the feeds. So for that, some researchers suggest to opt for ready to hang or closed circuit formulas too, which shows that the issues discussed above are significantly decreased. Continuous drip feeding may be delivered without interruption for an unlimited period of each time. However, it is best to limit feeding 8 to 18 hours or less. It is high in cost but viable option to consider in critically ill patient. So the best we can do in terms of nutrition, medical compliances and the cost effectiveness is that to mix the feeds. Keep some blenderized feed and some scientific formula feeds in the whole day regime for the patient. Most importantly, don't mix formula powder in the kitchen feeds to avoid the high osmolarity and growth of microorganism is also increased in this condition. Intolerance can happen and can be related to formula or maybe secondary to many things. So ways to start for the mixing, we can have 100% of commercial formula plus 100% of tube feeding diet. We can use some commercial formula 3 times or 4 times per day and the rest of will be used from the kitchen feed, or we can say the blenderized feed are the sufficient for the rest feeds. This is the way we can manage the undigestibility, the occurrence the digestive system have, or the cost effectiveness for the patient. Thank you.